Japan has been in the news today. A Japanese court has ruled that not allowing same-sex marriage is unconstitutional and a violation of human rights. And this decision was hailed by activists and is being seen as a step towards marriage equality. But over the last 24 hours, another country has been in the news for a reason quite the opposite. Our next report telling you more.
The president of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, is dominating global headlines. He has signed into law one of the world's harshest anti-homosexuality measures. The Anti-Homosexuality Bill 2023 was among 6 pieces of legislation that the president signed into law. The move has triggered condemnation from human rights activists, LGBTQ groups and the international community. Before we tell you about the reactions, let's just tell you how things reached this point. Earlier this month, lawmakers passed a new draft of the legislation. What did the amended version say? That identifying as gay would not be criminalized, but engaging in acts of homosexuality would be an offense punishable with life imprisonment. Repeat offenders could be sentenced to death, though Uganda has not carried out capital punishment for several years. Reactions have been pouring in ever since the president signed the measures into law. A rights group has announced that it had filed a legal challenge with Uganda's High Court, calling the legislation blatantly unconstitutional. Activists say by criminalizing consensual same-sex activity among adults, it goes against key provisions of the Constitution, including rights on equality and non-discrimination. Not just that, the move also risks undermining progress in combating HIV/AIDS in Uganda. Meanwhile, there have been warnings from around the world. The international community is watching the developments very closely. The United Nations Human Rights Office has called it a recipe for systematic violations of the rights of LGBT people and the wider population. The EU Foreign Policy Chief, Joseph Borrell, has said that Ugandan government had an obligation to protect all of its citizens and uphold their basic rights, and that failure to do so will undermine relationships with international partners. US President Joe Biden wants the measures to be repealed immediately and has threatened to cut aid and investment in the East African country. He said the administration would also consider sanctions against Uganda and the restriction of entry into the United States of people engaging in human rights abuses or corruption there. Interestingly, Britain, the former colonial power in Uganda, which criminalized homosexuality during its rule, has said it was appalled and called the law deeply discriminatory. There are serious concerns about the risk of violence, discrimination and persecution, and the impact on the fight against HIV/AIDS. The law has been called deeply regressive and a grave assault on human rights. But in Uganda, the legislation has broad public support. It is a majority Christian country that has pursued some of the toughest anti-gay legislations in Africa, where around 30 nations ban homosexuality. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.